Hello and welcome to Background Designer and bonus tools such as Blit Paint and Timer Bar product. As you can see, there is some updates frequently placed here in the update section. You can join a Discord. There's also a playlist of all the recent videos, and now there's a Trello roadmap where you can see all of the things that I'm working on. This is just a little bit of what I've done so far. I have moved the custom brush list to the custom brush folder. That way it automatically updates if you change versions, as long as you choose that same folder. Other things like the brush preview now shows properly. There's some extra options showing in the UI, such as flipping, and a little bug fix to do with when you click on a brush, it selects one of the brush colors so that you don't accidentally change the background gradient. Few extra things that I'm working on. There'll be some post-processing shaders, multiple categories for extra brushes so that you can scroll up and down those different sets. Complete the whole brush base set is going to be happening literally after this video. Multiple brush plotting, so you can select multiple brushes and draw with multiples of those. Those are still to be done, all of these still to be done. Rotational jitter, color deviation, size jitter, path plotting, so you can make a little path and whatever brushes you have selected or the single brush you have selected is going to plot some brushes along that path, and you can kind of edit the path and then basically enter to commit that to drawing, or maybe even make it so you can enter the path, edit the path again. So it's things like that that I'm planning on doing. So what is Blit Paint as well? Well, Blit Paint is an older tool that I was working on to basically be kind of like Photoshop, and in there you can make all the brushes you want to use in Background Designer. So I'm going to show you a demo of Background Designer and Blit Paint. There's also a timer bar tool that you might find handy for timing your work. So I'll try and run all three. I can't guarantee that they will all run nicely, but anyway, I'm just going to go ahead and download these. So seeing as I'm the publisher, all I have to do is go to the details here and get the files. So you're going to get the latest version of Background Designer. Just make sure that there's not a version here that's more than that. I'm trying to get rid of the older versions and just have this one at the top so it's easy. I'm just going to download it. I'm also going to download Blit Paint, and I'm going to download the timer bar and show you what each of these do. So I'm just going to show in folder and extract each to the respective folders. Timer bar, let's run that. As you can see, it doesn't show correctly in my 4K monitor anymore, so that's something that I can work on. But if you press up or down, it's going to move to the top or bottom. Now I'll just leave it at the top there because it's kind of obscure. There's a timer here. You basically click that and it will start timing. You can click it again to pause, or you can use this start and resume. You can reset the counter using R, add 10 minutes, set 5 minutes. Oh, sorry, set 1 minute, add 5 minutes, set 1 minute, add 1 minute. So whatever you want to do, you can set a time. So if you have 8 minutes to do something, then you can time that, and that always sits on top. So I'll leave that there. Roughly 8 minutes it will take to talk about other things. So let's see, let's look at Blit Paint. So you see that bar actually disappeared now. You want it to be topmost, you just toggle T off and on again. It should stay on the top now. It just needs a little bit of a kick every now and again whilst other programs open up. So here's Blit Paint again. 4K monitor is showing it as kind of a proportion, but it will be full screen. You set the number of plot undos that you want. It handles strokes and plots to work out what it's supposed to undo. It's kind of like every plot that you make, it takes up some memory and it needs that to do the undos. So I'm just going to go for a light amount of plots, and this will let you make your own little kind of, you know, sprites and things. It uses layers as well. It has a little bit of a blending issue. That was one of the reasons I abandoned this, because I got upset about the grey edge showing on brushes. Don't know if you can see it so well, but these pixels weren't blending too well, and because I use surfaces for everything, it was getting quite unstable. And anyway, backspace clears everything. You can use this to make any sort of prefab type brushes that you want to make. You can draw just with the base colors here. It's basically multiplying the brush with white. If you click this little dial here, it's now going to use a shuffle between these two tones, so you get a little bit of a different offset. Now, to change these tones, it's left click, right click, a little bit like a sprite. So left click, right click, and those two colors are going to multiply into the base color like that. So if they're quite bright and yellowish, we're multiplying these with yellowish tones. Let's go for bright orange and bright blue, and that multiplies in there like that. There's also a third mode where it analyzes the grayscale of the brush and mixes with these two tones. So where it's dark, it uses one tone, and where it's light, uses another. So left click, right click, you can see the kind of gradient there. You can press W to swap these round, and backspace. You can do other things like some rotational adjustments, rotational range. So let's click back to this mode. You can see I can make some nice grass like that. And the cool thing about this is if I make something in here, I can bring it into Background Designer to use however I like. And Background Designer likes red, green and blue tones to make new colors. Right, so let's just grab this and let's just pick that color and right click, pick that color, switch to maybe this mode, and I can dot this down. So you can use these together, these two tools. Now I'm just going to save this image just like this. So save full image is checked, and maybe a little bit hard to see this because it's so small, but I'm just going to save this to the desktop. Call it grass. Okay, that's now saved the full image out. And there's other things in this, like you can change it to pixel art, you can use the number pad keys to change all of these as well. There's a whole lot of documentation on what keys do what. If you hover over this as well, it will come up a little help panel in a second and tell you, there you go, when active you can use the number pad to make changes. 7 and 8, 1 and 3, plus and minus. It'll be made into buttons soon, but I didn't get round to that. So we can toggle that off. You can also switch the little Commodore on there, and that gives you a Commodore 64 grid. And if you play with the threshold value, it's at a kind of sweet spot already. Just click this button, wait for it to initialize, and then it's gonna kind of 8-bit process all of this to these Commodore colors, and that's you got a little kind of Commodore 64 looking background. The reason why this went all funky is because it actually analyzed the grid as well, and it's a little bit of a mistake. But all you have to do is just fill the background in, and that'll be fine. Now you can toggle that back off and toggle the grid off, and basically undo, and you'll get this back. You want to sort of bake everything down, but that's basically that tool. You can use this tool to make cool stuff. There's loads of brushes, you can randomize things, so it's a good idea to use this tool to make the brushes that you want to use in Background Designer. There's a whole lot of other things such as isometric tiles, and later I'll bring these into Background Designer as their own packs, and you can load these in. You can see it shuffles between a selection when you paint. It's quite nice, it's quite a nice tool, and still very useful. So I'm going to close that out, and I'm going to show you Background Designer now. This is the main tool that I'm working on. A lot of the things that are in the Blit Paint tool I'll be bringing into Background Designer, but not necessarily the same painting type of mindset, more of a just plotting things down, like sticking things down. Now I'm in the user categories here, and I'm just going to click here to load in that little brush that I made in Blit Paint. There it is there. Let's open that up. We'll call this, I'm just going to call this temp because I'm going to do a little bit of processing to it. Now you can see it looks grey like this, but if I slide this to the left, it gets those green tones back. And I just want to scale this up. Now it's already as big as it can go because there's a kind of limit to the brush size, and this is already using the max. So I'm just going to click that down like that. I'm not too happy about the edges being black like that. So what I can do is I can make those transparent, and this is a nice little fix for your edges, just to take those black tones away and make them more transparent. And I'm going to click that down, and I can use the brush capture here to capture this again. I call this grass texture, right? And now it's using a mix between the original colors and the replacement colors. So I'm just going to move it all the way to the right to use full replacement. Backspace to clear that. I'll get rid of the temp by right clicking. Do you want to get rid of it? Yes. And that way we'll free that up. And let's just go for grass texture. And I can click this down left and right. Slide it back to maybe the original colors and use tab to let it sort of change things up a bit. I can also press X and tab. So X and tab basically giving me a mix between color tones and flipping it. So X is flipping it left and right, and tab is tinting all these tones in. That's the time up. That's the time up. So that's what that does. Now you can click. Now you press space bar to stop it. It's supposed to stop when you click as well, but I might have to update that again. It seems to be non-responsive, but there you go. You can lay loads of grass down for your background designer, and there's some trees in here, some nice trees that I've made, particularly like this tree, and you can see it's got funny colors. Let's bring back them and let's slide it to the right so we replace all the tones. Gonna make these black, gonna make these brown, this light brown, and maybe a kind of bluish tone there. Gonna plop in the tree, go back to the user grass texture. I'm just going to press tab over this area, and it's going to sample some of the grass tones nearby. Just do that until I get something that I like. That's not too bad. And then stick a couple of these down. Let's actually slide to the new, the original tones a bit, and let's flip that around, make them a bit bigger in the foreground until you've got a kind of nice scene like that. You can press W to wrap the brushes round, so if they're on the left they come into the right. That will mean the whole image, as you can see down here when I press W, it toggles between showing it being tiled, so you know it's going to be horizontally tileable. So let's do tab and X and scroll up a little bit as we come down here to make it look like perspective. And we got this nice little field. I'm just going to go a layer below and fill in some gaps. Let's make sure I scale down. And I've got this nice little field now. I can take tones away completely because I'm in this transparent mode, so if anything's not got particular tones in it, you'll see it takes them away. So that's why you should paint with red, green and blue, or at least tint things that way. Cool, we've got our tree but we don't have any leaves on it, so I'm just going to go to some foliage. Let's see this one, and quite like that tone actually, but I can change it up for completely different ones. F2 to reset all these because we want the full effect. And let's make some nice colours. Some blue maybe, and this one might not do very much. Okay, so I'm just going to use E and R to rotate. Now if I use Shift with E and R, it rotates a bit faster, but just be mindful if you're holding down Shift and you draw, it draws a whole lot of them, like a stroke. And be careful with that because there's only a set number of plots. It's 182 that I've used, but I'm just going to hold down undo. You can see it undoes a fair bit. I can use the right mouse button to sort of change my point of view here a bit, like that, and that's all nice as well. Maybe I want to make this a little bit lighter as I go up towards the top. I can even go a layer behind and put some behind the tree, but not behind the grass. So yeah, just need to some grass here in that texture, but that's okay. Yeah, some grass here in the front, but I'll just hide all that up. Let's make it a bit brighter again. There's a few variations of this, like there's a big cluster and a little thin cluster there. And there you go, I've got a nice new tree. I'm just going to use the middle mouse button to reset the view. If I go around about here, I can save that as a new image, as a background, and I'll call it tree. So it's going to save that out, and if we go to save it again, we can see, scroll down, there's our image there, and it took into consideration the offset. So I can always reset that with the middle mouse button or the home key. But you can see I can have a little look around, and imagine this can be a set for a game, and you can see it also tiles across the way. You can go ahead, go back to the lower layers here. You can rename the layers by double clicking, so I might do like clouds. Click on that and let's put in some clouds. So I'm just going to use tab to get a few different color choices. If I don't want to press tab, I can come over here and customize. Control click will make all the colors get the same tone, and then I can do some little deviations to that just to make it a little bit more interesting. And click these down, flip them horizontally. There's different kind of clouds, some wispy ones here. Let's play with the gradient of the sky, make it more blue, and then this bit a bit white. And you can carry on doing lots of things with this. There's rocks, there's mountains, there's all sorts of things that you can add. It's worthwhile just messing around with it and getting a feel for all the controls. It feels like we're on the top of a mountain looking over at the mountains here. If you press P and B to hide the brush, you get this parallax effect, which is quite interesting. If you've accidentally put brush strokes on the wrong layer, you can undo with Control Z and go up to a layer that you find better. So layer 6, I'll type in mountains, and if I do Control Alt Z, I can bring those back in, but in the selected layer. So Control Shift Z just undoes it, but keeps it in the layer that you put it in, and Control Alt Z puts them back in the layer that you've got selected. So I'll press P now, and now you can see the clouds are offset. It gives you an idea of the parallax effect from this. I'm using the right mouse button to look around at the same time. It's quite nice. Okay, I can go ahead and make the sky even darker, and this maybe even redder. Interesting looking sky. I'm going to middle mouse click and press P to turn that off. I'm just going to look around a bit. Now let's say I want to make this red of the sky a bit more noticeable. I do have a gradient bar and fog things. Let's add this fog here, B, so we can see the brush again, and I can use Control and mouse wheel to scale up, Shift and just mouse wheel to get fine tuning and scale up a bit slower. And I can add this big cluster in here. Now I might not like some of the tones in there, so I can take them away with this slider. Maybe I just want this red tone. I don't want it to be as strong, so I can use the opacity slider here or the number keys. So I'm going to press 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, yep. And maybe I just want it a little bit like this. And just to help tint that lower sky there. Let's go for a more pinkish tone and something like that. You can carry on making a nice background for your game. Maybe you've got a little menu system in the front here. You can test that. You can always make up your text image. Go to layer 23 and you could call this like menu, right? And then that would be your, let's just say this was your menu system there. Go ahead and see how that might look if you had a menu sitting here, something like that. You know, does that work? For some reason it doesn't like to plot all the time. It gets a little bit plot shy. You have to kind of move it about. I think it's a slight number offset. There you go. And yeah, you can go ahead and sort of make that your main menu for something. Notice it kind of jiggles about a bit as you shift around. I'm going to make sure that isn't an issue. There seems to be a floating number around about. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope you enjoy using these tools, and I look forward to making more updates. Thanks for watching this video. I love to see what you make. Be sure to join the Discord and post your work, or if you post your work on Twitter, it'd be nice for you to promote Background Designer. Just hashtag Background Designer, or you know, the little link to the itch product page. If you do want to get the link, it's basically right here. Let me just go back to that. I'm just going to close this little bar and go back here. And basically it's pixelburner.itch.io/background designer. I'll post the link below in the video. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.